And welcome to the Wisteria Cottage. It is I, Nadeshko Gatsby, and I am here to talk to you all about Anime Expo 2025. Convention Tea is a series where we look thoroughly at the conventions I've attended and giving you a honest review and an honest look at what went down at the conventions I attend. So, this time around, we're covering Anime Expo 2025. This is my, is it? Yeah, it is my 25th Anime Expo. Never missed one. The only Anime Expo I ever missed was 2014. And yeah, let's just take a look at Anime Expo 2025. This was also my second time attending as industry. First time I attended as industry was back when I used to work for an indie film company. So yeah, let's just take a look at Anime Expo 2025. But if this is your first time tuning into Convention Tea, we are our parent company is Scarlet Rhapsody, which is a organization that I founded during Anime Expo 2000. This is a website where we cover anime conventions. We've been covering anime conventions since the early 2000s, and we have the longest running active archive of fandom history, and we're very proud to hold that honor. In addition to that, we also do live streams such as this. And in case if you miss out our live version of our live stream, these will be archived on our YouTube channel for generations to watch. And with that said, let's go on and talk about Anime Expo 2025. All right, Anime Expo 2025. I'm always, as a local to the Southern California area, as local to the LA area, I'm always iffy about attending like Anime Expo because as a local, you're like, okay, do we really have to go? I mean, it's crowded. There is this love-hate relationship with Anime Expo with locals. You have like the veteran con goers who are pretty much like done with the crowds, done with the heat, done with all the commercialism at Anime Expo, and much prefer medium to smaller size cons. And then you also have the people who still go every year, who are still like, okay, if we're kind of roped into this, let's just go. And then, of course, you have a ton of people from around the world who go to Anime Expo for whatever reason or another. For example, a friend of mine from high school, Sora, she was part of the first cosplay group I was ever affiliated with, Illusions Cosplay. She came because Megumi Ogata was a guest. Megumi Ogata was representing Jujutsu Kaisen, and she's also representing Toilet Bound Hanako-chan, which I'm not too familiar with. Sora and I just refer to it as the toilet show, or later on in the day when she had the panel was called the toilet panel. Anyway, sadly, Megumi Ogata did not have a sighting, and she was only there for panels on Sunday. So we'll go more into that later, but as per year, Anime Expo draws in over 100,000 fans from around the world. Like I'll like be walking around the cosplay halls and I'll see Chinese cosplayers just like do all these photos like on the upper level of the concourse of the convention center. You'll see a lot of people like within the industry just mingling with other industry professionals, and of course, you'll see images like this of South Hall, and you'll see just fans and cosplayers just mingling around here. This photo was taken after the dealer's hall had opened, so sometimes you'll see photos of this place being like packed in like sardines. It's only because the dealer's hall has not opened yet. But anyway, let's go move forward. But before we move forward, we do have an advert from Petals and Poison. Petals and Poison, they are a gothic type of curiosity store where you can order teacups, teacups, dresses, jewelry, and whatever other gothic accessories that you can find. You can use my code Spectre15 to get 15% off your order, and I really love their stuff. In fact, I have a mug from them. The mug is kind of like an urn, so anytime I'm drinking coffee, it looks like I'm drinking out of an urn. I really love their stuff. It's really cute. Great house decoration, especially since spooky season is coming upon us. Also, with Anime Expo 2025, um, Geki and I were invited to do a panel on the Fabric District. I haven't done this panel at AX since about, I want to say, Anime Expo 2022. So, yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've done this panel at Anime Expo. And this is basically a guide to just navigating the Fabric District, what stores to shop at, and yeah, I always like to do this panel at Anime Expo because I really feel that we have a really good target audience here, and plus it's local, and I think this is a local gem that folks need to learn more about, especially with the closure of Joanne's and the alternatives being very not very good. Okay, so for Anime Expo 2025, some of the cosplays that I brought. Hey, we have Azure Mage in the chat. Welcome, welcome. So for Anime Expo 2025 cosplays I brought a cosplay that I made back in 2022. This is HMS Queen Elizabeth. Found out that the Azure Lane booth was doing some really fancy looking photos. So this is HMS Queen Elizabeth during the Woozy Party skin series. It was part of a storyline where all the boats are in formal attire. So I decided to just bring Queen Elizabeth. This is like one of my favorite cosplays I've ever made, and I wore it and the same day when I wanted to do the Azure Lane stuff was also the ballroom dance. So this is also my ballroom dance costume too. I also decided to bring a new costume I made. I debuted this at Emerald City Comic Con. This is Mafia Jinx from League of Legends. And for those of you kind of unfamiliar, League of Legends, they have a different series of skins. Sometimes characters will have a different hair color. So when I said, like, yeah, it's Jinx from League of Legends, like, yeah, but where's her blue braided ponytail? Everyone looks a little bit different in their skin sets, and that's kind of like why I really like the skins. So I really like the whole like 1930s kind of aesthetic to it. So I really like Jinx's flapper kind of look. And this is a really easy costume to make while watching House of Gucci. And of course, I brought back another old costume I made during a little bit after lockdown. I debuted this at Otakon 2022, I believe. And this is Maid Saber from the Fate series because I'm back into Fate and I might as well represent Fate again at Anime Expo. I always do Fate cosplay at Anime Expo. I always change it up every year. And even though I've worn this at Otakon, the last time this is the third time I'm wearing this, and I made this like a couple years ago, but it's always fun to wear this one. It's also super comfortable to wear because given Anime Expo, the heat, the walking, it's nice to wear something comfortable. Oh, okay, we have some technical difficulties, so let's just kind of fix a few things here. And here's an advert kit for KinyobiCon. KinyobiCon has offered me to be a guest of honor this year for their virtual show on Friday, so I highly recommend checking out KinyobiCon. Again, they do have a virtual set on Friday, and you will be able to see me as Nadeshko Gatsby as my VTuber self at KinyobiCon. It's actually kind of surreal being a VTuber guest of honor. So I only started doing VTubing maybe about a year ago, and yeah, I've just been like just doing convention tea, talking fans view Fridays, and also the occasional gaming because we are starting to stream Fate, and we will be having a subathon real soon. All right, back to convention tea. Popular fandoms at Anime Expo. Of course, the Hoyoverse was rampant and all around. Hoyoverse includes Zenless Zero, Genshin, and of course, Honkai Star Rail. There was a lot who came out for Honkai Star Rail this year, and it was pretty exciting, especially when you have considered the Fate and Honkai Star Rail collaboration. Of course, we had everyone's favorite couple cosplay this year, Dan Dan. Dan Dan, pretty easy to cosplay from, and it's also a really fun series too. Second part, the second season comes out relatively soon, so I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, because ending on that note on the last season, on the first season, like, okay, that's it. I need more of this. Thank you very much. And of course, we saw a ton of Apothecary Diaries cosplays, various incarnations of Mao Mao. Mao Mao is one of my favorite characters, And I just love just seeing like just how everyone like just kind of like had a different like Mao Mao cosplay. Like even though it was popular, you still saw like different variations. One of my dream cosplays, in fact, is to cosplay as Mao Mao with the cat ears and tail because I just think it's too adorable. And of course, with popular fandoms, we also have our flashback fandoms. We have Hiro Yui from Gundam Wing. I'm actually pretty sad because I thought we were going to get more Gundam Wing 30th anniversary, this and that, at Anime Expo outside of a commemorative eco bag from Bandai. But it looks like they're doing all the Gundam Wing this and that at San Diego Comic Con, and we're not going to Comic Con this year unless someone can loan me a Thursday badge. Hint, hint. And then we also have this is the first cosplay I saw when I stepped out of my car, out of the parking garage, is we saw a cosplayer from Gunbuster. Gunbuster is one of my favorite giant robot anime, and just seeing like old school, the first thing when I step out of the parking garage, just really meant a lot to me. Like I knew this was gonna be good Anime Expo when I saw a Gunbuster cosplay. The moment I just stepped foot out of the parking garage. And also, we had to mention cursed things. We have someone in a Cubs jersey carrying around a homemade yaoi paddle. This is not a yaoi paddle from Hendane. No, it is a homemade, bona fide, genuine yaoi paddle as held by a Cubs fan. When I posted this online on my socials, people are like, of course, it's a Cubs fan. I'm like, is there a correlation with like Cubs and queer folks or Cubs and yaoi? Because I'm not familiar with that area. I'm more into Yuri. Thank you very much. All right, and before we go on with our day by day, follow my idol group, Angel Hearts Idols. You can follow them on Instagram and you can follow them on YouTube. In fact, our fanime set is available and online on YouTube, so definitely check us out on our socials. Angel Hearts, we've been around since the early 2000s, and we've been dancing para para at conventions across the West Coast. And we hope to see you at the next con we dance at. All right. So, I mentioned stepping out of my car. We parked over at the LA Live section because getting into LA Convention Center parking can be a bit of a madhouse. So, pay the extra $8 to park on LA Live where it's not as crazy. So, this is registration. And registration, they just essentially they'll just mail you the badge. However, we still had to pick up Stan's badge because he was part of our panel. So we just ended up just going over to professional registration, and we just got our packet of badges, and no need to activate them because they've already been pre-activated. I had to go ahead and activate my badge when I got it in the mail. Pretty smooth, just going in and out. And yeah, so registration just kind of went by fast, and thankfully, I'm really glad that Anime Expo just got into the practice of mailing badges because we no longer have to wait for long lines. Yeah, also the beer garden was moved to LA Live, so now we have all this space to us. We now have the Peacock Theater for our main events rather than dividing West Hall into two halls for a main event stage. So it's great that we have Peacock Theater because it seats a ton of folks. We also have the Novo back, and that was also used for events such as the AMV contest and also when Sora and I tried to do the voice acting auditions. This section here is what became of the Ichiban market. I'm actually kind of sad because the Ichiban market last year, if you go in my previous reports, it was kind of like a Matsuri style kind of zone, and it looks like they're kind of rebranding the Ichiban market to just have a few food vendors. Like my friends here had popcorn chicken, but I guess this is now where they're gonna have like deco cars. They even had like a manga truck, which I thought was pretty cool. But I just kind of wish that Ichiban market still had that Matsuri kind of vibe. Also, if you look closely, you have Wayne Gretzky in the background. One of the first things we did at Anime Expo was to just hang out over at the academic symposium. I always like going to these symposiums because these are very like cerebral panels, and these are actually done by academic researchers. So to kick things off, Emily from the University of Colorado at Boulder just kind of gave us a introduction keynote speaker talk, And then we went into a few presentations. So the first presentation I attended had to do with found family, and in different kind of ways. We talked about Utena. We talked about found family, deconstructing fairy tales. I was trying to figure out what was the overarching kind of theme to all the presentations within this first of the presentations. So we talked about subversive fairy tales with Utena. Of course, you can kind of see the comparison here with Steven Universe. And we also talked about the found family dynamic versus traditional Japanese family dynamics with Spy Family, which I thought was pretty interesting since Spy Family doesn't take place in Japan. It takes place in a European setting, but it still kind of has like a lot of those Japanese family values. And also they talked about like how Spy Family, how that notion of found family subverts a lot of the traditional Japanese family aspects, especially when you have your forger, who is expected to like be, yeah, she's the wife kind of character. People are expecting her to marry early on, like, hey, Yor, why haven't you been got married yet? But she's also a horrible cook too. I know I love Yor. Yor's my girl, and I don't care what Dan Slott said because Dan Slott actually blocked me from Twitter because I said that Yor Forger is a great example of a strong female character. I don't know what has Dan Slott has done that's so important. Anyway, so here we have the Calico Critters booth. So there's a story behind this. I grew up playing Calico Critters. I was actually surprised to see them at San Diego Comic Con last year, and I actually got some Calico Critter toys. So I decided to fall in line, and I just wanted just a keychain, just something cute and simple, because I like using Calico Critters as like decoration. I'm actually trying to get a hold of my old Calico Critters dollhouse, so I can also use that as home decor. But it looks like I came home with more home decor. So at the end of the Calico Critters booth, there's kind of like this raffle kind of thing where you kind of spin this wheel, and if you get like a gold like bead, you get the grand prize. And guess who got the grand prize? I would have been happy if I got like, just like the simple basic prize. But I'm like, I have like the Penguin amusement park set. It's sitting in my apartment right now. I still haven't got it out of the box. I kind of have to figure out, where do I want to put this theme park set. But yeah, it looks really cute. I can't wait to put this all together. And yeah, it was actually, again, I was just quite surprised that I just got this theme park set. Again, I would have been happy if I got like a lower set, but like, wow, grand prize. Goes to show you it's already day one, and my luck is definitely turning around. Of course, day one was our day to wander around the dealer's room. So here we just kind of have like, I just like how this one dealer just kind of had like blind bags, and like, yeah, kawaii bag, waifu bag, and I just love how they just drew like, wait, is that supposed to be Labubu teeth? Because I just noticed that. It's like a Labubu waifu. Yeah, I can leave this here for a little bit for nightmare feel. Yeah, I'll skip to the next slide. Crunchyroll like had a gargantuan booth. Like, I know, yeah, Crunchyroll, they used to host their own cons, but like this area was like Crunchyroll Con. Like, it's an area all to itself. Like, I only decided to just explore it just for like day one because this was like the clearest and like the most breathable time to like just explore. So they were definitely promoting the Demon Slayer movie, which I'm very looking forward to watch. So can't wait for Infinity Castle, gonna dress up like Shinobu, or I might throw in a surprise here and there. Yeah, definitely. Crunchyroll was, they went all out for Anime Expo. This is actually reminding me of like the booths of O2 when you had Jenny on with the Helsing Castle, when you had ADV and they had like this huge setup similar to this. It was like a two-story type of setup, and they were firing t-shirt cannons at people. Yeah, this was definitely something. And when you were looking at the exhibit hall this year, it's very comparable to San Diego Comic Con. This is the Ami Ami booth. A lot of folks like to buy rare Japanese anime goods from Ami Ami, and I love this collaboration of Idolmaster and Pac-Man. And it's the 765 girls too. And I was telling Sora, like, I used to have like 12 Azusa cosplays, and I started cosplaying as Haruka for a cosplay group, and like I love my Haruka cosplay. And here, like I mentioned before, I decided to stop by the Azure Lane booth, and this is where I decided like, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna cosplay as Queen Elizabeth, and I'm gonna pose with the Azure Lane cosplayers here. So they had Prince Eugen, we have Enterprise. So yeah, like this is just kind of cool to do. And they also Azure Lane, they also had a booth too with Yo Star. And with that said, I may have gone a little bit spend crazy with with what I got. I ended up getting another oil mug because my younger brother ran away with my oil mug, and I got the 6th anniversary set because it came with a gaming mat, it came with a flask, it came with magnets. So in my mindset, okay, this is more of an investment to just get more practical things because I always need more magnets. I always need like something to carry my drink with, and I think like if I cosplay as Enterprise and I carry the 6th anniversary flask, that might be cool to carry around. And I could always just use a gaming mat just for like electronic stuff, you know. So yeah, heck yeah, Ami Ami, yeah, I really like their booth there. I didn't really see anything I wanted at their booth, but I just appreciated that they were there. And then my friend and I, we headed over to the entertainment hall. The entertainment hall, I would argue, is almost like an extension of South Hall's exhibit hall. I mean, I did briefly poke into Artist Alley, but because Artist Alley is just so gargantuan, and there was like over 1,100 booths in Artist Alley, and like I just got so overwhelmed. Like I'll just peruse around and just see if there's anything I like. But I didn't take any photos. It was just a little. It just got too crowded. It just got too much for me. And then a friend of mine was very excited to check out the Milk Mocha Bear. Milk Mocha, they also did a collaboration with Licorice Recoil. So they stood in line here while I was in line for Azure Lane merch. Also, Entertainment Hall had the actual costumes from the North American leg of the Sailor Moon Super Live. So we're just kind of just looking here, getting an up close look at the costumes. My Sora was just like has also cosplayed from Sailor Moon musicals. In fact, in AX02, she cosplayed as musical Uranus. So she was taking like extreme close up photos for friends who want to cosplay as the musical renditions. Now I'm just looking at them up close, and the thing I had to look up close with because I was just curious because Mars is known for her red high heels, and I just wanted to know like just how high were they. It's like okay, they're the chunky high heel shoes, so it's easier to dance and move around in. Because as someone who cosplays as Mars for Cosplay Wrestling Federation, I wear like the stiletto type, and it is hard to sometimes it is pretty hard to stand for long periods of times when I'm wearing those stiletto heels. But it was really cool to see these up close. Of course, you could not touch them, but just kind of see like the fabrics, the textures, um, the fact that these had like a zipper in the back. I just treat mine just kind of like a gymnast bodysuit. But yeah, this is just very interesting to just take a look at up close. Also, Final Fantasy 14. Let's talk about critically acclaimed Final Fantasy 14. So, um, my friend Geki and I, we went over to the Final Fantasy 14 booth just to get our swag. So basically, it was kind of like a stamp rally because at the end you got like this Moogle keychain, and then we also play Final Fantasy 14 on this channel too. Maybe we'll do it for a subathon, and if anyone's down, I say let's go. Anyway, so part of the stamp rally, let's just recall like what you had to do. You had to show proof that you've created a character in Final Fantasy 14. If you had not, you can just come over here and create one after watching a Dawn Trail trailer. So Geki and I like, okay, just to expedite time, just to kind of like just save time in line, why don't we just get the Lodestone Companion up on our phones just to show that like we have our Warriors of Light on our phones. However, that was not permissible. We had to go online and actually go onto these desktops here to show proof that we have a Warrior of Light. And then part of it was also, I'm just trying to recall, taking a photo over into Kugane photo booth. I was wearing my Queen Elizabeth cosplay at the time, so that was kind of neat. Um, and I think just also just showing that you were also following their socials as well. I forgot what the third one was, but if you did all three of them, you ended up getting like a Moogle keychain. And um, I also got the Final Fantasy 14. I call like those like I call it like a dealer tall bag because it's pretty huge, and I really like the large dealer tall bags because I just always end up using those as laundry bags. So, I ended up also buying a Fat Cat keychain here, which was pretty nice. So, yay, I have a Fat Cat keychain in addition to my Fat Cat plush because Fatter Cat is my choice of mount when exploring through Eorzea, and eventually I need to log back again soon because there is a duty I need to complete. I also went to the Bandai booth because I wanted to see like how much I had to spend to get the commemorative 30th anniversary of Gundam Wing bag. Unfortunately, there weren't a lot of things that I wanted that they were selling. Like if they were selling like a bunch of Haro kits, like yeah, I'll definitely just buy like a Haro kit and get the 30th anniversary bag. But they were selling a lot of G-Quux stuff, and I'm not really into the mecha designs. I just reference G-Quux as Hideki Anno's My Super Awesome Gundam fanfic. And I mean that in the most affectionate way possible. And they did have like a photo zone where you can like just pose with Nyan and Mashu from G-Quux. I thought this was pretty cute. I still have two more episodes to go of this series, but believe me when I say this is what I refer to as Hideki Anno. Hang on, my totally awesome Gundam fanfic by Hideki Anno, age 65. Also, just kind of tell you just about some of the vibes at Anime Expo. Um, for like the longest time, Anime Con just some attendees had like the sassy attitude that I just wasn't really a fan of. It comes kind of with that edgelord Tumblr, Chanboard kind of sassiness that I just wasn't a huge fan of. Like, yeah, like you gotta be rude to people randomly, and I just never understood that. However, I do like the change of vibes um, at Anime Expo. This person here, he had to go to the bathroom, and I noticed that he had a Chica Nesso. Like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. Do you mind like babysitting my Chica Nesso? Like, yeah, sure, I can babysit your Chica Nesso. And my friend and I were just kind of like just having like our salads or just having our lunch. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and just take some selfies with your Nesso because I just think it's just too adorable. It's very amazing that someone like him was very trusting of me, like a complete stranger with, oh yeah, Chica. I kind of miss those vibes. I miss that energy from like cons from back in the day. And then I was also asked to help out at the ballroom dance. This was known as the cosplay soiree. So if in the chat or in the comments, if I say the phrase cosplay soiree, would you think that is a cosplay ballroom dance? Um, we had a bit of turnout at this brand new event at Anime Expo. And just to give you some background, I actually staffed one of the first cosplay masquerade balls. That was what it was called like back in the day when I used to staff those cosplay masquerade ball. But now they're rebranding it as cosplay soiree, as to have a formal dance event at um, at Anime Expo. Dress code was not a thing, so you can just kind of come in your like Dan to Dan cosplays and just kind of dance the night away. Some people actually did dress up formal for this, but if you're curious, you can just kind of peek your head and just kind of just dance in here. And so just kind of the vibes of the cosplay story here. As staff, like okay, I'll like just encourage people to dance. Craig and I danced for like a little bit. Craig is the gentleman in the silver suit in the middle. He's our head honcho of the ballroom dance. So I just stayed just for a few hours just to kind of like just support for the first couple of hours. Because this is a 6 hour long event. And I think a lot of us on ballroom staff agree that like, yeah, this does not need to be 6 hours. All right, just some Thursday cosplay highlights. We had had like quite a bit of cyberpunk cosplays. I did see a lot of Lucy's at the convention. And because Panty and Stocking season 2 was debuting at Anime Expo, you did see a comeback of Panty and Stocking cosplayers. And of course, this was an adorable Toho cosplayer that I had to make sure I captured. Just a couple other Thursday cosplays. We have Guts from Berserk. I was very happy to see an Oriana Star Guardian cosplayer. Like, yay, Star Guardians, my people. And of course, throughout the weekend, you'll find like a lot of fake cosplayers scattered about. This particular cosplayer actually gave me an alter version of Excalibur. So I actually have that in my car in addition to the actual Excalibur. All right, so before we move on to Thursday, I really want to mention this. Briefly want to mention this. My cat Nico just went through a life-changing surgery, and let's not beat around the bush. Vet bills are expensive, even when you have nationwide insurance. Vet bills are expensive. Nico, I'm happy to say, is recovering very well. However, like I said, his surgery bills are very close to $7,000. If you can pitch in whatever amount, I would very much appreciate it. I will go ahead and copy and paste a link in the chat for those of you who are watching this live. However, I will also have the link in the description if you also want to go ahead and donate to Nico's GoFundMe. In addition to that, if you want to be our subscriber to our Twitch channel, we do have some exclusive Nico emoticons that you can use, and we actually do have our artist in the chat. Komi actually made these, so if you are a Twitch subscriber to our channel, you get these Nico emoticons, and these are adorable. So even if a Twitch subscription is about $5 a month, it still goes a long way. So if you can, please donate, please share. We have 2 years to pay his bills off, so even if you donate multiple times, it's very much appreciated. Even if you have to share this multiple times, I would very much appreciate it. And Nico's kind of like our channel mascot. All right, day 2. All right, so day 2, again, we commuted from Torrance to Anime Expo. It's about a 20-minute drive. So this is just kind of us kind of arriving. And of course, day 2 took place on July 4th. Note this is not part of the July 4th protests happening on the other side of the city. I actually found someone was cosplaying from Fallout, and they were just passing by in line. I was in line for the next academic session, and me and the people in line, we were just having a conversation about Fallout, and we were just talking on various Fallout meetups in the desert, and I thought that was pretty cool. I admit I only have a surface level knowledge of Fallout. If I ever get a PC, I'd like to play New Vegas, but that involves me getting a new PC. And of course, we have some Friday cosplays. I was very happy to see a Sadako cosplay. Of course, I'm also very happy to see a G-Quux cosplay. Yay! There was actually a screening and a Q&A with the staff at Anime Expo. And of course, we also have Buddha and Jesus. At first, I thought this guy was cosplaying as Benson Boone. Like, no, it's from a manga where Jesus and Buddha just hang out and have adventures. The upper part of the concourse was also a popular spot for cosplay photo shoots, especially early in the day when there's not a lot of people walking around. So you just kind of have like this row of photographers and their light setups at these various points at the convention center. Yeah, a friend of mine, Sora and we decided to walk around all the gacha kind of areas. This was like the UFO catcher section. Like, yeah, I'm not really good with UFO catcher type of things, but I ended up getting some stickers with this UFO catcher type thing. Yeah, and I was feeling pretty lucky. Of course, there's a huge line and a huge crowd for the Hoyoverse place in the entertainment hall. In fact, you can get a photo with the mascot from Honkai Star Rail here. And they also had a huge advertisement for the Fate collaboration. And celebrating Gundam's 30th anniversary, you have the standee for the artwork for Relina's 30th anniversary design. Yeah, I just kind of wish this was Wing Zero. Like, I love you, Grandpa Gundam, but please, it would have been nice to just see like a statue of Wing. Unfortunately, I don't have the photo of this here. Sora and I, we tried to go into the voice actor auditions over at the Novo, but unfortunately the line kind of cut off. We didn't know what was going on because no one was telling us anything, so we were actually pretty far in the line to where, like, wait, why are they letting people in? Why are we sitting here for half an hour and no one was telling us anything? Like, and they were like, oh, by the way, auditions have been cut off, but you're more than welcome to just step inside. I'm like, nah, we'll just kind of head over to JW Marriott and just have lunch and take advantage of their free water. So I decided to just kind of just hang out over at the Sukeban wrestling area because this year Anime Expo had Japanese pro wrestling, and they had a demonstration on like how they do the hair, and I like the vibes here because they were playing like old school anime music. They were playing the Totoro theme, and the model here was actually singing along to the Totoro theme, and they were also playing Silent Voice from Gundam Zeta. I'm like, okay, Double Zeta, my bad. I'm like, wow, like it's very rare that you'll hear like Gundam music from like the Gundam that I love, like Silent Voice, like yay. So I just kind of like just sitting here, just kind of like just enjoying the vibes, and just kind of like just watching the hair demonstration. I was also interviewed by Sukeban here too. They asked me to do a wrestling promo, and while I was cosplaying as Jinx, I did a brief version of my Sailor Mars wrestling promo, and that was a lot of fun. So just kind of really like just hanging out around here, just kind of like, and plus it wasn't too crowded, so this is also just a nice way to recuperate my senses. Something I missed out on because we were busy in the evening is they actually had wrestling karaoke. So in the evening, this is turned into a karaoke zone, which I do appreciate. All right. At Anime Expo, there was a bomb scare. So while I was hanging out over at the Sukeban Zone, and this is over in South Hall. Sorry, it's over in West Hall. There was a bomb scare, and they were just clearing people out of all the section. The only reason why I was just kind of hanging out around West Hall is because this was the area where we were supposed to have the League of Legends gathering. And I wanted to meet like other League of Legends cosplayers too, because a lot of times cons, especially over the past few, they'll have an Arcane League of Legends kind of like meetup. But most of the time, it'll be mostly Arcane cosplayers. And that's for a good reason because Arcane Season 2 just came out last year. And yeah, I totally get like why the number of Arcane cosplayers would outnumber, but it looks like that there was going to be a lot more League of Legends cosplayers. Like, yeah, I want to meet them. I want to like, without explaining that my Jinx is a skin and that yes, I am cosplaying as Jinx. So I was really looking forward to that. I'm very proud of my Jinx cosplay, really proud of how it came out because this is a cosplay I even wanted to do before I started playing League of Legends, before I started playing Arcane, because a friend of mine said like, hey, you like this aesthetic. I think you would make an awesome Miss Fortune and an awesome Jinx from the Mafia skin set. It's now known as the Crime City skin set. And our gathering was on a Discord channel, and there was a lot of discord, no pun intended, of where we were going to meet. One group said, like, yeah, let's meet outside by the quote-unquote bridge over Pico Boulevard. And other people are saying, like, oh, let's meet up in South Hall. There's a group of us in South Hall. I'm like, hi, I'm over in West Hall right now. And it's a bit of an inconvenience going if you have to, like, rush to get from West Hall over to South Hall. Part of me was under the impression that we would stay within the West Hall area, because that's where the original gathering was supposed to be at. Like, even though, like, yeah, that section of the Staples Center Crypto Arena was kind of closed off. Like, okay, maybe outside of West Hall, maybe somewhere, like, in the middle of West Hall, we'll figure it out. But for some reason, okay, South Hall, okay, let me just power walk over to South Hall because people were dropping photos of South Hall. And like in the Discord chat, I was like, hey, I just need a visual. Let me know where your location is and I'll just power walk over there. So I had to go from West Hall and to get into South Hall from the outside because I thought I could like make it there faster if I walk outside, if I just power walk it without having to deal with the crowds. Turns out I was wrong. I could not go through the main South Hall entrance because that was used as an exit. I had to go around this fenced off area, which was like right by the parking lot, and then power walk like back right inside. Thankfully, I got free free primer from Elf the day before because I forgot to pack my primer because thankfully my makeup was still on. And when after just having to do that long walk back going into through the back entrance of South Hall, I still had to fight with the crowds that were in the South Hall lobby. South Hall again is a popular spot to get cosplay photos taken. It gets crowded and gets pretty claustrophobic really fast. And by the time I got to the gathering, we were just kind of like just doing like, okay, this skin, that skin. And then when I asked, and then it's looked like someone assumed the role of gathering leader because the actual original leader was like nowhere to be found. And let's just talk about some leadership etiquette here. So we were wrapping up and I was hoping like, okay, if I can't get a photo with me with other Jinx skins or other Jinx cosplayers, or crossing fingers if they had like any other Crime City cosplayers, like yeah, I would still would love to be part of a group photo because I worked really hard on my costume. I really wanted to meet other league cosplayers, especially like especially when they actually either play the game, they're really into the skins. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Arcane, but sometimes it's just kind of cool to also talk to people who like teamfight tactics, who are also part of that fandom because you also want to find your community, you want to find your people too. And I was really hoping that this League of Legends gathering would allow me that opportunity. And this is the only day I was able to do it because Saturday was my fate day. Because here's the thing about cosplay gatherings. Cosplay gatherings are in a way help build community. And you can create positive experience and create positive connections through cosplay gatherings because like, okay, yeah, we're at a convention because yes, we all love anime, but let's also find our people. Let's also find our fandoms. And cosplay gatherings are a great way to just meet people within your fandom, connect with people, make friendships. At the San Diego Comic-Con League of Legends gathering, it was very small and it was mostly Arcane, but myself and Geeky Curiosities cosplay, we really connected because we were both in the same field and we talk a lot to this day. So I was just really hoping to make friends. I was just really hoping to meet people. And the person, I will not name what they were cosplaying from. I will not make any identifiers, but I think this is a lesson to be learned if you are organizing, if you have to take up leadership of a cosplay gathering. Because guess what? Sometimes it happens when a gathering leader cannot show up for whatever reason. In this case, it looked like someone had to assume leadership because we were just kind of like just going all over the place, and it was a little bit chaotic because of the bomb scare. And I get that. While kudos to you for taking up leadership, but when you take up leadership, you also inherit the responsibilities of taking it up. And then when she asked like, hey, does anyone have any other requests? I just raised my hand. Can we do like one last group shoot? I came in here late because it was just a long walk to get over here. And then she completely dismissed me. And it's like, sorry, the gathering's over. I'm like, we could take one more group shoot. And then I explained to her that like, hey, I came in late because there was a lot of disconnect and a lot of miscommunication on Discord. It was a really long walk to get from West Hall when I found out all about this. I really work hard on my costume and I really love the effort that I put in my costume and I really want to have one. And I think it wouldn't hurt to have one more final group shoot. And then her answer was, oh, I'm not the leader. And she turned her back on me to proceed to talk to her clique of friends. League of Legends already has a bad rap. League of Legends already has a bad reputation among fandom in general. Don't be the reason why someone still thinks the League of Legends fandom is is perpetually poison, perpetually toxic. And this person who assumed leadership is a part of that problem. If you're going to assume leadership to a cosmic gathering, know that you also have the responsibility of that you're fostering someone's community. You are nurturing someone's community. I don't know, no, I don't know who this person is, but if you're going to be a leader, you're going to have to lead with empathy because I am done with toxic, cliquish, callous behavior in fandom. And this cosplayer is part of the problem. I needed to let that out. I need to let off my soapbox. But again, cosmic gatherings, I firmly believe, are places of community, places to build community, and not a place to show off your elitist behavior. And with that said, it kind of, that attitude just really dampened my Friday. However, I did meet like a couple of other League of Legends cosplayers, just who are just kind of like just hanging out in the area. So I did get to see like, oh yeah, Fairy Seraphine, I love this, and this Heimerdinger and they had like this animatronic Poro that was running around, and I was telling them about team fight tactics. We were like, yeah, like if you feed the Poro a couple of times, you get a really chunky Poro, and we were just kind of like just geeking out over that. I was able to get a selfie with this Jinx with her fish bones. So there was a lot of people who actually did have like a lot of empathy for my situation. People were like, yeah, we should have taken like one final group photo. But there was like a lot of amazing League cosplays here, and I just wish there was like there we had like more time to just kind of like take more photos, because the gathering started at 3 o'clock, and then because of all the chaotic things that were going on, people didn't know what was going on, and like it just ended at 3:20. So like what was going on? But amazing Gwen, I always love seeing Star Guardians, and I love how this person's partner cosplayed as their Tibbers. I thought that was just super cute. Shout out to everyone, all the League of Legends cosplayers who were very kind to me when I was just feeling really down. It really meant a lot to me, because like I just kind of felt that experience with that one particular cosplayer was really just kind of dampened my day. And honestly, like just simple kindness goes a long way, because fandom has no room for mean girls. All right. I decided, just kind of just cheer myself up. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to my favorite place in downtown LA and get some Jinx cosplay photos. So just kind of just line up my mood a little bit more, I went over to the Biltmore Hotel. So the Biltmore Hotel is this historical hotel. If I usually stay at Anime Expo, if I usually get a room, I normally just stay at this hotel because I love its historical significance. This is the hotel where one of my favorite music videos was shot. Um, if you look at the, yeah, if you look at the title here, you know what it is. So every year I just kind of just recreate Taylor Swift's Delicate music video here, and this is just Jinx just kind of in Taylor Swift's various poses um, over here. Yep, no joy, only Jinx. And then down the street from, yeah, down the street from the Biltmore is the last bookstore. I gotta warn you, like, if you're gonna walk from the Biltmore to the last bookstore, it is a bit of a sketchy walk. So I was able to do this in the daytime cosplaying as Jinx. And I decided, like, you know what? They do encourage photos, they encourage selfies. Let me just take some photos of Jinx just kind of hanging around at the last bookstore. So I just kind of just decided just to go crazy, just kind of just do my own thing, and just kind of like just hang out at the last bookstore. There was one particular book I was looking for, but I wasn't able to find it because I'm kind of like I need like Korean fantasy fiction right now, but unfortunately the last bookstore didn't have it. Like, oh dang. But this is a really neat place. If you're staying like within the area of the Biltmore Hotel, I would recommend going during the daytime. It's a lot safer to walk because again, it is a pretty sketchy walk, like even during the day. Like go with a buddy or just go with the confidence of a mad woman. What a shame she went mad. No shame. And later in the evening, I hosted my A Guide to LA's Fashion District with Geki. And this is just kind of like our panel to just talk about the LA Fabric District, how to shop at the LA Fabric District, and just some of our best practices and just some of our favorite stores. Because the problem is, a lot of times you'll be recommended the Fabric District. You'll wind up in the Fabric District, and you'll have the question of, where the hell do I start? Because not gonna lie, it is a sensory overload. Like, where do I start? Where do I go to? Where do the cool shops? Where do ones to avoid? What are some tips and tricks? And this is where our panel comes in to just help folks who might feel a bit overwhelmed or would want to know more about our awesome fashion district. We feel that this panel is very important in this day and age now that Joanne is defunct, RIP. And since this is local, this is a place where, like, yeah, like carpool with a group of friends, take an Uber with a bunch of friends, and just shop for fabric here because I still think this is a great resource for fabric. RIP Cash Cools, if those of you who know what Cash Cools is in the fabric district, that was like my favorite one-stop shop. So we always come in with this panel with new information, new tips, new stores, and new things to share when it comes to the LA Fabric District. I'm just sharing this photo of Sakamoto flying just because. I also wanted to say, like, if I were also to add, like, more, like, what were some of the popular fandoms represented, a lot of Sakamoto days cosplays. Like, you had, like, a lot of folks just wearing, like, the apron. They either had a wig or dyed their hair gray to look more like Sakamoto. And sometimes you even had, like, boyfriends with their wives cosplaying as the wife, which I thought was pretty cute, too. I want to see more people cosplaying from the Sakamoto Days Rogues Gallery because it has such a fun villain team. All right, before we go into Saturday, Convention Tea is brought to you by Yimax Sweaters. Yimax Sweaters is one of my favorite cozy clothing. You can either get vintage style cardigans or you can also get at-home cardigans where you can just stay all bundled up. Again, fall season, pumpkin spice season is coming soon, so why not stock up on your wardrobe with something from Yimax Sweaters? You can use my code YIMAC-Dame Asmal to get 40% off your order. This is also a great place to also get gifts for friends, and also just, again, one of my favorite places to get cozy wear for around the house, or even to pair with Lolita, Garu, and so forth. All right, day 3. This is the line for an evening with the men in the afternoon. My day for day 3 was focused around Fate Grand Order and anything related to Type Moon. So, kind of like as a safety precaution, I packed snacks with me, I packed my lunch with me, I packed a book with me because I thought I would be waiting in line for quite some time because last year the Fate panel got capped off 90 minutes before the panel even started. So I decided, like, okay, you know what? Once the an evening with the men panel is in, I'll be first in line, and I'll just kind of like just read my book, just have just enjoy my lunch and so forth. However, the line staff person, is like, hey, if you're in for the Fate panel, we don't do room clears, so you're more than welcome to stand in line. Like, okay, I don't know what an evening with the men is. It sounds very cis. It sounds very male, for a lack of a better phrase. I guess I'll just sit in the back, enjoy my salad, and I'll keep an open mind. But before that, yeah, let's just talk about like just some things I did on day 3 in the morning before standing in that line. So, I decided to check out the Netflix booth. They had like a fun house here, and I thought this was really fun. I went first thing in the morning when there was hardly a line, and I had to put aside my sword, had to put aside my stuff, so I can like check out their fun house. And it was a really fun house. They had like a kind of like a bounce house type thing at the start. You had a hall of mirrors, and then you can jump in this pile of Squid Game stuff. So I did that at Saber. I didn't know where the camera was, so here I am doing like this pinup style pose, and my face doesn't know where the camera is. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed checking this out. Um, I guess this is supposed to be a tie-in with like a video game or something, Netflix games. I'm not really into the gaming part of Netflix, but I did finish Squid Game season 3 prior to convention, and let me tell you, that detective storyline, maybe it's useless. Maybe it's hmm. Insert lyrics to Man Child here by Sabrina Carpenter. Day 3, I also checked out the academia panel. So they had one which was very beneficial to me because I'm actually starting research in fandom. So they were talking about like just how to get started with research, what are some sources for research if you're going to be researching fandom for the sake of academia. Like, for example, right now, I'm starting upon research on the correlation between shoujo anime and girlhood within millennial femmes. So these would be some journals I would look into to back up my claims and to back up my studies. And one of the interesting data that Billy, the presenter here, pulled, like, what is anime that you would recommend to someone who's never seen anime? I actually did have this conversation with someone not too long ago, and the number one that was recommended was Nazca Valley of the Wind. Shame on you for the second recommendation, Grave of the Fireflies. You want to traumatize someone? I will recommend Grave of the Fireflies among folks who are into war movies because it is an important movie about the after about World War II, done from the perspective of this brother and sister, and the toxicity that the Japanese culture promoted, and it's a very hard hitting film. But to recommend it right off the bat, it's a very traumatizing movie. I have a hard time watching it, but it's still like a good movie that you need to at least see once in your life. Of course, Princess Mononoke, rounding out the trifecta for Studio Ghibli, and Full Metal Alchemist. All right, let's go back to An Evening with the Men at noon. That's why I'm calling it An Evening with the Men, dot dot dot, at noon. So this is a YouTube content creator group called the Anime Men, and how do I describe it? I can say I'm not the target audience, but there's definitely someone's humor. So just in summary, they were talking about like, hey, we have like this new piece of content that we're gonna have on our YouTube channel. It's basically one of our guys here. His girlfriend is a waifu pillow. Yeah, so that's the joke. The girlfriend is a waifu pillow. I've actually seen this skit done before with Peter Coffin and a waifu pillow, and I think I saw that like back in 2011. So like, okay, like cool. Like the content is very like early 2010s YouTube, and the humor kind of also reflects that too. And then again, someone else's humor, definitely not mine. And then they had like this Japanese guy like, hey, learn like Japanese with me, and I thought that was like, okay, cool. And one of the content creators brought their mom in to play a round of guess that anime character, and it was very simple anime characters like Luffy, Sailor Moon, and so forth. So, and then they brought in Anna MacArthur, who I know best as Marco from Star vs. the Force of Evil, and also Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen, and he just kind of gave like yeah, who can do the best voice of this character? The only thing I really remember was one of them tried to sound like All Might, but they sounded more like Santa Claus, which I actually thought was pretty funny. I actually got a chuckle out of that. But it's always a delight seeing Adam MacArthur on stage. I really like him. I have a bit of a bias because at D23 several years ago, he actually approached me and the person I was attending D23 with, because he was casting as Marco. Like, oh my god, Star Butterfly people. Like, yeah, Star Butterfly people. And then it was really cool that Adam took a selfie with the two of us. And it's like, we didn't seek out him. He sought out us. So shout out to you, Adam MacArthur, if you're listening. You're always a treat to see at conventions. I spent most of the panel just like eating a salad and just reading a book while the next panel started, because the next panel was Fate Grand Order. And we had a pretty huge turnout for Fate Grand Order. And this is just people just still trickling in to the panel. Because I was just hanging out in the panel before, I ended up being able to get a one-seater for myself up front. So I was made sitting up front. No photos during the panel, but we had like this. This is just kind of like just so you see what my point of view looked like. And of course, like during the panel, I took photos with a couple of fake cosplayers because, like, yeah, of course, I gotta take photos of fake cosplayers. Some of the highlights of the panel included like what to expect for the 8th anniversary gifts and treats for Fate Grand Order. So TLDR, a lot of gems, a lot. Sorry, I am using wrong terminology. A lot of Saints Quartz. So have fun drawing all your waifus. They also talked about Destiny Order Summon, which guarantees you one of your waifus or husbandos. And then when they announced Ash, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see what I can do to draw her. And after about 4 or 5 draws, I eventually got Ash in my game. So now I have a new caster to raise. And then they brought in the voice actors for Arash and Saber because Ayako is there like every year. And she's also a pretty legendary voice actress. She also voiced Chikage in Sister Princess, and she also voiced what else did she voice? She voiced a lot. Like check up her Wikipedia because even prior to Fate, she's done quite a bit of voice work. Let's see. Also, they were talking about the voice actors for Arash and Saber. They were talking about their adventures the day before. So Saber, she went to Disney's California Adventure. She says she loves Cars Land. She just ended up going on Grizzly River Rapids, and she actually took a selfie right in front of Grizzly River Rapids. And she's like, yeah, I had much more fun on this trip because it was a lot cooler than the last time I went because it was super hot. And then the guy who does Arash, from a previous panel, he talked about how much he loves cars. So he ended up just talking about like going to Ferrari, renting a Ferrari, and just driving around Hollywood. Drove over to the Hollywood sign, and then he went to the Dodger game the night before. My friends and I were watching the Dodger game over at Tom's Watch Bar, and we saw the very pitiful score of 18-1 Houston Astros. The Dodgers lost a big time at that. And then he was also emotionally invested in that score, like Juhachi. and then like I was like in the front and just getting emotional too. It's like, yeah, I know, right? Because I'm also a Dodgers fan too. And then we were just, the whole crowd was just getting super emotional about it. And I love it when otaku get also emotional about sports. It just amuses me in a way. So we were just kind of just able to just, I always just love hearing the Q&A with Arash and Saber because they're just pleasant people to just kind of like talk about like a lot of this and that. And we were also talking about the artwork for the 8th anniversary. I didn't know what a banana boat was, because when someone like, oh yeah, so and so servant is on a banana, I'm like, is that supposed to be phallic? Because I know like, yeah, Mash is in a bikini looking all hot and sexy. Yeah, like, okay, it's supposed to evoke a certain kind of emotion, if you catch my drift. For women, it's called ovulation. But like, yeah, and so is on a banana. I'm like, is that supposed to be phallic? Oh, it's not. Oh, it's a banana boat. Okay, I've never heard of that. Oh, okay. But yeah, we're just talking about the merch, what's coming up for Fate. We talked about the summer event. So on this channel, you'll see me like stream. You'll be see me streaming the event for Fate Grand Order. And I'll also be going through main story for Fate Grand Order on this channel because I'm really having a lot of fun just talking to a bunch of Fate Grand Order fans in the chat. Also, a lot of fun with Fate. So this is just me, just in my reaction, just like getting front row at the Fate Grand Order panel. I also did the photo booth over at the Aniplex booth for the 8th anniversary. So for the Fate 8th anniversary, you can take a Purikura with any of the Fate servants that are available on the North American server. And I'm like, wait, I'm just finding out about this today. So here's me and Saber Lily. I wanted to do this just kind of symbolic of Cosplay Wrestling Federation because I do play Saber Lily over at Cosplay Wrestling Federation. And this maybe might be a foreshadowing that another Saber is about to emerge once I'm done with my Saber Lily run. And they had Saber Alter's motorcycle. So even though I'm cosplaying as standard Saber in a maid outfit, that here's me just kind of on a motorcycle. And they have that interactive booth here, where you can, it's like guess a servant, and you just tap on the servant's card and you'll see their noble phantasm like in this widescreen type of thing, which was actually pretty cool. So here's Saber under the shadow of Gil, which I thought was pretty funny. Um, yeah, I forgot to tighten up my apron after getting off the motorcycle. My bad. And of course, the voice actress for Saber had another Q&A over here, and she just talked about like her work with the Honkai collaboration. The person who was running the Q&A was a guy on YouTube known as Gigook. Um, I was acquainted by his videos actually through a Fate video. You can look this up on YouTube. This might be useful if you're planning to ever get into Fate or if you're a fan of Fate. It's He does a video on like how do I get into Fate and why Fate is a tough series to find a starting point at, because there's things that look like it could be a starting point, but it actually isn't. But if you want my recommendation, start with Fate Zero. Or if you have access to Steam, you could stream the game. You can play the original Fate Stay Night game. However, it is a censored version of it. But yeah, she was talking about her experience with Honkai, and she was talking about like, yeah, I really like Saber's new outfit for this. I like that she has a mini skirt, but she's always, again, Ayako is always a treat to be around. And of course, we had the voice actor for Arash just hang out too then after. And this is actually fun because you had to shout out Arash's noble phantasm. You had to shout out Stella and see how high you can get on the decibel meter. I stuck around for this for a little bit. I was actually very tempted to do it because if I can get my voice in a high-pitched soprano type voice, I can probably do it. But I was like, nah, I'll pass on this because it looks like they already had like people lined up to volunteer already. And then of course Arash, the voice actor for Arash, which is also just kind of giving his 2 cents on each person's noble phantasm, y'all. Some day 3 cosplays. My buddy here cosplaying as Ryoga, representing the old school. A lot of Danmei, a lot of Chinese inspired cosplays. I'm not sure what this is from, but I just like the design of it. They were sitting next to me while I was waiting for friends, like, hey, you guys have some cool cosplays. I wanted to get a photo of this. And of course, you had like some wandering Fate cosplayers. Of course, you have OG Rin and you have OG Saber over here. Okay, just a couple of cosplays here. Ended up just hanging out over at AX Crossing. AX Crossing is their version of 626 Night Market. If you're not familiar with 626 Night Market, basically it's a food zone. It's like Artist Alley but food. And it's basically just kind of like okay, it's kind of like an outdoor kind of place where food court where you can like just sample and buy various foods from different places. Of course, because it's Anime Expo, there's an emphasis on Japanese food because if you want to get Japanese food in downtown LA, you gotta go all the way to Little Tokyo. But no, Anime Expo brought Little Tokyo to their con. In fact, there actually were a couple of Little Tokyo vendors who were present over at AX Crossing, including the famous Daikuya ramen place. So yeah, just people just kind of hanging on cosplay, grabbing dinner here over at AX Crossing. Yep, there's a Daikuya and their ramen. People just lining up. I ended up getting ramen from this place. It was actually pretty good. I really like the broth. The ramen noodles, they had a really good texture to it. And you can also ask them to just remove like a few things here and there. Like I usually ask to remove the red cabbage and the egg. Yeah, I'm kind of vanilla like that. But normally with ramen, I like my bamboo shoots, mushrooms, and so forth. And now just talking about it just makes me like want to get a bowl of ramen. But anyway, this was a really great place to just kind of like, just pick up a bowl of ramen. The wait wasn't relatively too long. We were able to get a seat no problem right by this place. So if you're with a group of friends and you want to just try out different things, you just like have like one of your friends just babysit your spot at the table and you just kind of rotate around. So yeah, I ended up just getting the tonkatsu because I was just jonesing for ramen that day. And Bearology, they were also there. I see Bearology all the time at 626 Night Market, and I ended up getting a Your Forger flask for about $20. And with Your Forger, she's my favorite. She's like one of my favorite female characters from recent anime, and I need to cosplay as her again. I just love Yor. So yeah, I just ended up just getting this. This is like the iced peach tea, and it was very delicious. Yeah, so like just had to get a photo of this, and as Saber, because Saber loves food, I had to get a selfie with my drink. Also, this is the zone where you can do karaoke, and believe me, there was a long line for karaoke. And we had like people just crooning songs from West Side Story. In fact, there was like a lot of advertisements for West Side Story around downtown LA. I was like, yay, like one of my favorite musicals. And then you also had like people crooning Billy Joel, but I think like the most surreal one was this white guy, I assume he was white, was singing Lovely Day. And it felt like, oh my god, we're at the Anime Expo cookout. Because I was just kind of like just singing along in the background. I'm familiar with Lovely Day through Players Holiday. Because I was also just started singing the rap part of Players Holiday as this guy was singing through Lovely Day. So like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Just brought in some really good vibes here. Just food, friends, music. Yeah, I kind of like this area. And then the main event of day 3 and the main event of Anime Expo, in my opinion, Sukeban. At first, we thought these were the wrestlers. I even thought so too, but I'm like, wait, are they like just an idol group just like doing like a photo op here? I found out later on that this is Cosmosi. They were doing like the halftime show for the wrestling event before we got into the main fight. Cosmosi, they are a fantasy J-pop, K-pop group. I just started listening to them after Anime Expo. Like my Spotify playlist and my Spotify rotation is now all about Cosmosi, and like I just need like just dress up in like one of these outfits anytime I do gal stuff, because I just enjoy the aesthetic. I like the bomber jacket. I like the Y2K inspired rugby polos and the pleated skirts. So like, yeah, I'm all about this style. This was a sold out event. So Sukeban is women's Japanese pro wrestling, and what I like about Sukeban is they're different factions, all have a different story, and all these different factions are like girl gangs like within the streets of Tokyo. And each of them have a different theme to them. So you have the Harajuku Stars, which kind of has that schoolgirl aesthetic, very pastel. Yeah, Tokyo Toys, which has like clowns, dolls, very heavy, very very inspired kabuki makeup. You have the Vandals, which is very reminiscent of biker girl gangs in Japan. So the cherry bomb, which is my favorite, has like the souvenir jackets, like the bomber jackets, and each one of them just has like each group like just has a different style, and you can see the story being played while they're wrestling. I like that they had like an announcer. They just kind of told you the description and like where they were in the story, just kind of narrate before they go in the ring. Because normally with like, for example, with WWE, a wrestler will probably just go into a speech, just kind of get us into the story. Whereas you can see the story played out in the ring. You can see vengeance, you can see betrayals, and you can just kind of just see like a lot of things just going down in the ring as they're fighting. So it felt like you're watching a performance in addition to fighting. And then I also like how they had like their own soundtrack too. So as they were fighting, we would be hearing like J-pop in the background. I love the fact that they played Misa's Banzai. I was singing along to that because I've memorized those lyrics since high school. Just so you know how old that song is. That song is like close to like 25 years old. And Banzai by Misa was a song I associated with Anime Expo 2000. So that's how I know that song by heart. I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then to like just end things and to also interstitch between each fight, we also had someone doing a yo-yo performance. Like I said, we had Cosmosi perform a few songs, including a preview of their songs. This was just a lot of fun, and we also made friends with the people we were sitting next to. And I really like that Anime Expo. I love anime cons. Like it's, I just feel maybe after the pandemic, maybe because we have like this culture of empathy over being an edgelord. Sometimes it's becoming a lot easier to just kind of like just have conversations with people right next to you, especially if it's such a niche thing within a niche within Anime Expo. Because yeah, Anime Expo has gotten big, but now you have like you can meet anime fans and wrestling fans, and both your fandoms intersect here. But what surprised me the most was the intersection of idol culture and wrestling culture. Because like I said, you had Cosmosi perform. You also had like a bunch of idol songs playing in the background as they were fighting, and then you had Morning Musume. I forgot the name of the song. It's not on Spotify because otherwise it would be on my Anime Expo playlist as like the main theme of Anime Expo. Um, it's the chorus goes Miracle Star, and that was played like when our champion entered the ring, and also as like our end music for the event. So here we have Victoria over with going up against one of the wrestlers from Cherry Bomb. And again, this was just a delight to watch. It was just so cool to just see these tiny Asian women just kind of duke it out. And I also appreciate that they had like different body types. Um, some had more meat on them than others, and it was just a delight to seeing them just do their thing. It's really hard for me to pinpoint a favorite um, wrestler that stood out for me because I just love how each of them just brought in their characters. And you would think like, yeah, everyone just kind of play up the whole cutesy Lolita, just kind of schoolgirl kind of vibe. But I just like how we had like different aspects of like Japanese femininity that also subverted like Japanese stereotypes. If that makes any sense, because Sukeban translated means girl gang, and you just kind of had these different factions, and they were all badass by their own definitions. Even though they look cute, like for example, Harajuku Stars, they still could kick your ass. And I just love that about this. And I just like, hey, um, I was just hanging out with you guys yesterday, just watching you do a hair demonstration. And you know what? I'm a fan now. And again, like I was telling the new friend I met and made in the while we were just watching a show, shout out to you, Kate. I'm relatively new to wrestling because of Cosplay Wrestling Federation reasons. And I think I found like a new favorite to keep up with. And again, I'm just so thankful that like, hey, this is something I was curious about. Let's try it out. And $50 later, and I got tickets to the show, and then I told my buddy Geki like, hey, there's wrestling at AX, want to check it out? Got our tickets, got seated, and made friends. Had a great time. And here's a photo of just Cosmosi just kind of just waving to the audience, waving to our side of the ring. And it was just cool just seeing them perform in the ring. And that was pretty awesome. Yep. This is just kind of, yeah, that's Sari Bomb, who was our world champion that night, because this is also the world championship. And if you notice, there's streamers that are just kind of being tossed into the ring. And that's just a tradition, like when it was announced, you toss streamers right into the ring. And I was like joking with my buddy Geki. He's like, hey, if we collect some of these streamers, can we sell them on eBay? And of course, this rounds out day 3 of Anime Expo. All right, before we go on to day 4, the last day, a quick shout out to my book, The Fangirl Diaries. I'm an author. I wrote a book about the intersection of girlhood and anime fandom at the turn of the millennium. Basically, this is a book all about what was it like to be an anime fan, what was it like to be a cringe fan in the late 90s and early 2000s. I apologize, forgive me. I am from the late 1900s. This book is all about what was it like growing up with Sailor Moon, finding anime through fan subs, browsing through Fansview, Annie Pike, and attending your first convention not knowing how to cosplay, but you kind of figure it out anyway. Check out my book, The Fangirl Diaries, available on most major bookstores. But if you want to support some indie bookstores, link in the description. And I do know if you buy my copy off of Underdog Bookstore, you get a autographed version with a free bookmark. So support indie bookstores and highly recommend checking out my book. And if I'm ever at a con and if you have a copy of my book, I'm more than happy to sign a copy. All right, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. So, we decided to get there early because Sora and I, we wanted to get there early for the Jujutsu Kaisen panel. Sora just started watching Jujutsu Kaisen right before the convention. I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen on and off. I'm still on season 2. Um, I enjoy it. It's not really the anime that I usually go for, but I was curious again. Fan of Adam MacArthur, having been in Star versus Forces of Evil, I was curious to see like how he would voice a shonen protagonist, and I'm not disappointed. I just want to see like Itadori just hey guys, who's up for nachos? I know that's just my crossover sense of humor. But they had the original voice actor for Itadori from the Japanese version. And they also had Megumi Ogata, who was also in Jujutsu Kaisen. Because Sora and I were anime fans of a certain age, Megumi Ogata is a legend. She's the voice of Shinji Ikari, Sailor Uranus, Princess Emerald, Yukato from Cardcaptor Sakura, and a lot others. And it's very rare that she makes a US appearance. That was the reason why Sora flew over to California for Anime Expo, just so we can have a chance to see her. Unfortunately, again, she did not have an autograph session or like a single guest voice Q&A. But man, if Megumi Okada showed up at AX02 or 01, can you imagine? But it did make me sad because I know this. Yeah, I know this is a Jujutsu Kaisen panel. I was hoping to see more Sailor Uranus cosplayers on Sunday with the hopes of like, hey, I like Jujutsu Kaisen, but I also like Sailor Moon too. Because that's why I wore my Sailor Mars on Sunday because like I don't have a character I cosplay as that you voice, but I am part of a lot of those fandoms. Luckily, Sora and I we got in line as soon as it cut off because there was a huge line for the Peacock Theater. And let me tell you, the Peacock Theater is huge. And I'm really glad that Anime Expo acquired the Peacock Theater because this is just the orchestra section of the Peacock Theater. They were actually putting overflow people up in the balcony area. So we were lucky to get a couple of seats for the two of us close to the front where we could see everything. By attending this panel, we ended up getting a free poster for the upcoming movie, which summarizes the first couple episodes of season 2. And then we were just in for a treat when it came to just listening to the Q&A with with maybe Ogata and the dude who does the voice of Itadori. And they were just talking about like, yeah, which character would you date in would you date in Jujutsu Kaisen? Maybe Ogata. This was like her first time doing like a major stage event like this, which actually surprised me because again, she's a voice acting legend, and she's like, yeah, this is my first time being on stage with an audience as huge as this. I'm like, we're so thankful that you're here, Megami. Because I probably would have skipped out of this panel. Like, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen, but I probably wouldn't have gone to this panel had Megami Ogata had not been a part of it. We were given the trailer for the movie that's out next week. We were given some clips from the characters that they voice, and we were also giving like special greetings from like people in the Jujutsu Kaisen cast just for Anime Expo. So those were just some of the treats we had, but we were just kind of like just fangirling, like, oh my god, we're in the same air, we're breathing the same air as her, she's right there. It's just nice to just kind of have that youthful fangirl still inside you. Like, yeah, you voice like a lot of my favorite characters from childhood. Like, we're happy that you're in Jujutsu Kaisen, but we'll also remember you as Uranus, Shinji. And this is us just like, yay, we're in. Just kind of like just fangirling that we were able to get into the panel. So we kind of like went after the panel. We just kind of went our own separate ways, just doing our own separate things, just kind of wrap up Sunday. And there's a booth like over at the right by the beer garden that had like was like blowing bubbles. So like, let me just get some photos of me like right by the bubbles. And it was just really odd trying to time it because one, um, the lighting was an issue because like okay, I have to like just time the lighting and time the bubbles when they come out. But luckily, someone at the booth helped me take some photos of my Mars cosplay and the bubbles. Even though that I know that is a Mercury thing and Mars like she's a fire type, but like bubbles are cool. And then I ended up just meeting my buddy Geki over at the ring because they had a thing where you can show up at the wrestling ring and do like your own entrance or you do your own promos. I love the fact that we had Sailor Jupiter announcing the promos. And then like I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go up as Sailor Mars, gonna do my thing. A lot of people were like just doing like fight moves on the ring, like, no, I can't do that, not in this costume. So got some photos of me right by the ring, got some video of me at the ring, and this just it was just a lot of fun to do. And I'm glad that I was able to do this. Granted, Kase Wrestling Federation didn't get a panel or a show at Anime Expo, but I was telling and spreading the joy of Kase Wrestling Federation to those around me. And I also regret not wearing my NECA World Order shirt during Sukeban, during wrestling time, because I think that would have been cool. Another tradition for me at Anime Expo is to get takoyaki at my usual place here. So usually I pack a lunch with me to Anime Expo. But like, no, I'll just grab some takoyaki and some lemonade. It was a hot day, so okay, just gonna grab some takoyaki here, and it was delicious. Um, Again, I really appreciate the fact that people were much friendlier than previous years of Anime Expo. Like, yeah, you can sit here. Like, yeah, it's a seat taken. Like, you're taking it now. Like, thank you. So yeah, this is me and my food selfie. And I also like that we also had some idol performances during the daytime, where we had Just Cosplay Sings, hailing all the way from Perth, Australia, coming here to sing anime songs. And she was singing the English renditions of the Pokemon theme. I was very happy that she was singing the Sailor Moon North American opening, Fighting Evil by Moonlight. That actually struck me in the childhood. Like, I have both the same kind of nostalgia, kind of endorphin rush with Moonlight Densetsu, but, huh, Fighting Evil by Moonlight hits different. And for those of you who just kind of feel the same way, you all know why. And then I decided to just kind of like to stop by and hang out at the Cosplay Senpai booth. So this is my buddy, a Team Kirata cosplay. They were the Team USA for World Cosplay Summit. And I was also showing my friend Sora, like, yeah, this is how we do it now when it comes to Masquerade. We have build books. And then she was just completely, like, floored how detailed everything you need to have and how well prepared you need to be for Masquerade. Because when Sora and I were competing in Masquerade back in the early 2000s, we just came up with a last minute skit and just improvised and just do whatever on stage. And I would tell her, yeah, you have to go through screening now. You have to have everything planned months in advance. And she's like, wow, I don't even. Yeah, it was just really cool. I really liked the selection of cosplay senpais and how things such as like craft were like very much emphasized um, consistently. I met fellow Filipino American Johnny Junkers. We were just kind of like just talking about swords. We were talking about training. We were talking about Filipino martial arts. And then Luluko, one of my other buddies here, was also trading ribbons. I didn't see them initially at first, but like, okay, I'll take a photo of your booth and I'll post it on my convention tee. Someone had like suggested like, oh yeah, you should like just draw a stick figure version of Luluko on there. Like, nah, I'm not gonna be mean. No, I can't do stick figures. But you know what? Better stick figures than AI art of Luluko. But yeah, here's me and Luluko just kind of hang out here. I love that wig color. Like, I just love like dark lavender. It's my jam. Some day 3 cosplays over here. Yeah, just kind of just wrapping up. Not day 3. It's Monday. It's Sunday and we're tired. We have typos. And of course, last minute shopping. One of the staples of Anime Expo Day 4 is to like just go around the dealer's hall, entertainment hall, Artist Alley one final time to see if there's anything else you need. I wanted to at least say hi to Miss Candy Holic. I wanted to do that the day before because I've been wearing her dresses to a lot of my author talks because I kind of want to have like this kind of aesthetic anytime I do an author talk, just wearing one of her dresses. So this is just kind of me and her just kind of having a selfie here. She's holding the back side of my bookmark for my book, The Fangirl Diaries. And if you look closely here, my About the Author headshot is me wearing her goddess gown. It's like, yeah, here, have a bookmark. I'm wearing your goddess gown. Really nice meeting here too. If you wanted to also just take a closer look at her aesthetic, it kind of has that coquette pastel kind of cottagecore look to it. And this is just the aesthetic that I want to bring at any of my author talks and book signings. Asian Boba Girl, I was actually able to find them on the last day. It's been a while since I've actually owned one of their candles. I'm very simple. I like their milk tea candle. It just kind of really evokes kind of like, yeah, this kind of feels refreshing. It's great to light this up when I write. I'm a candle collector, so I also found a new candle person to collect from, Kimi X Ebiko. I ended up getting their Northern Heights candle. It has a very foresty scent inspired by Freerin. I want to get the aphrodisiac one, which kind of has like this sweet chocolate scent to it. I was between those two, but I just wanted to just get the Northern Heights one because like I like foresty scents. I like to close my eyes and I think I'm in this mystical, magical forest where I'm just foraging mushrooms and meeting an anteater familiar. Speaking of Freerin, I just wanted to just take this photo. Like, hey, I've never seen them in these outfits. Like, maybe I want to cosplay as this version of Freerin and Fern in the future. It just kind of has like this cottagecore kind of like, it's very giving Oktoberfest. So if I ever cosplay as Freerin or Fern, I probably might do this version just to kind of stand out and to be a little bit different. Okay, here's a mass exodus out of the dealer's hall and back into and everyone just trying to get home. So this is like around 3 o'clock when everything just closes out because the dealer's hall and Artist Alley are all in this section here. And it was a madhouse just trying to meet up with my two other friends because like, okay, we're done for the day. Let's meet up. Let's meet up by the Nikkei booth. And we just kind of had to fight through this crowd. So everyone's just exiting. People are trying to attempt to still finish off some cosplay shoots here, but like, oh no, I don't recommend doing shoots here when people are trying to do that exodus out of the dealer's hall. But this is just one last photo before we end things at Anime Expo. And this was one of our final selfies, all three of us together, as we survived Anime Expo. I went to Anime Expo 2025 with a legacy of my ride or die convention buddies, Sora from back in the day, from the ASEN days and the early AX days, and Geki over here, who's just been my ride or die for the past 10, 15 years or so. But before we get into our final thoughts and constructive criticism, let's talk about KinyobiCon. KinyobiCon is a convention up in the Bay Area, and guess what? I am a virtual guest for their virtual event on Friday, August 22nd. You'll be seeing me as my Visona. I will be talking about Sailor Moon during their Friday virtual day. So definitely check out KinyobiCon, and if you're up in the Bay Area, check out this small convention that is truly a fans by fans for fans. All right, just a quick special thanks to Jams and Billy for hosting another amazing year of your anime academic conference. You guys have really inspired me to just take up on anime research. Again, also special thanks to Geki and Sora just for being there and just spending their convention all together. We ended up having Makoki Ichibanya afterwards and ended up getting ice cream afterwards because we had that stupid ice cream song stuck in our head. And of course, thank you to Anime Expo for giving us the opportunity to run panels. We hope to do this again. And likewise, if you guys have any panels that cancel out on you, you know you can count on us to fill in for that programming piece of entertainment. More than happy to fill in with any panels you would like us to do. I just like to yap a lot. Also, special thanks to Anime Expo's industry staff for giving me the industry badge. This is my second time as industry, but my first time as industry as a published author, so it felt pretty awesome to just kind of wield that industry badge. Like, yes, I've earned this. I earned that $120 badge. Okay, I have some constructive criticism notes. Other than my rant about the responsibilities of leading a cosplay gathering. Alright. Um, so, we can't do anything about the heat because, hey, it's Southern California. It gets hot during this weekend. However, this is like a piece of constructive criticism that I've been mentioning to Anime Expo through the past episodes of Convention Tea. If there's an opportunity for it, because a lot of the gathering zones can get very cramped. If there is space at the JW Marriott, if you have an extra ballroom, you can start hosting cosplay gatherings over at the JW Marriott. A lot of conventions, such as Anime Boston and Otakon, have been like putting cosplay gatherings in the ballrooms. One, there's AC, more room, and plus you can let people traffic to just kind of like just go through. So because some of those gathering spots can be very cramped, sometimes you might um, example like it's just too hot. You just want to be indoors. That's all I gotta say. But I would suggest Anime Expo would just start looking into if there's any extra ballroom space at the JW. Start considering investing in that space for like cosplay gathering zones. Also, constructive criticism. Um, I know this is probably more on the guest, but I probably would have liked to have seen like a guest of honor kind of a meet and greet for maybe Ogata, like an autograph session. I know some of us old schoolers were hoping to like have Megami Ogata for that, but I kind of also noticed that she kind of was like, yeah, I don't do like huge events often, and I kind of sense a little bit of crowd anxiety the way she was answering some of the questions over at the Jujutsu Kaisen panel. Like, okay, I kind of get she probably has like anxiety dealing with people, just kind of, at least that was my assumption, but just, I don't know, just kind of like just pie in the sky. Like, if I were to like make a wish, like, yeah, it'd been nice if she had an autograph session. I do like how everything was all laid out this year. I do like all that. Sometimes like the app was a little bit confusing because sometimes they would like have like another number for a panel, like panels category blah blah blah. Like, okay, what is this supposed to mean? Like, I don't think that section needed to be there on the app. Otherwise, I felt the app was pretty useful. It's just nice to have something on hand, but never underestimate having like printed guides out. Um, I would have liked if panel rooms had like a listing of like what panels were in the room, just so I know what was there, or to also make sure that I was in the right place because that would have been helpful on day one. In the past, Anime Expo used to have like, yeah, here's a list of panels in this room. It doesn't hurt to invest to have like a board saying like, yeah, these are the panels that are going to be in room 411, because that would have been helpful to just like, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm in the right place. Other constructive feedback I have for Anime Expo, I would just, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I'll probably have more on my convention reports, because there are some things that Anime Expo can't control, and there are a few things that they can control of. Oh, my industry badge. I wish I got more information about industry networking events and industry get-togethers, because I only went to the industry lounge once, and that was on Sunday, the last day. And I found it was not until like after Anime X, like, oh, I could have gone to this networking event, I could have gone to that event. So I would have liked to know if there were like any industry events, because I remember in the past Crunchyroll they had an industry lounge over the JW Marriott, and it seems that it wasn't the case this year, because it was like, hey, if you have a meeting with someone, you have to reserve blah blah blah. Whereas I just thought we had like an industry lounge where you can get some like snacks, mingle with industry, and I would have loved to been notified about that. So, as someone who has an industry badge, who has access to this, I would have appreciated being told about this. All right, just final thoughts about this Anime Expo. I would say this is your typical Anime Expo. It's gonna be crowded, yes. It's gonna be hot, yes. So prepare accordingly. Even if the weather says like, yeah, it's gonna be high 70s, low 80s, you still have a lot of that people heat coming into you. Final thoughts. I really enjoy this year of Anime Expo. It's again, I just feel like yeah, it's a typical year for Anime Expo. Usually, what I do at Anime Expo is I like to go to the Fate panel. I like to do cosplays that are thematic to the guests of honor or the panels that I'm going to, or like if I know, for example, Azure Lane has like a photo booth. Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to do a League of Legends cosplay meetup in Southern California like after all this because I had a pretty shite experience at WinterCon. Um, and this is just the second time. Like, okay, I'm sensing a pattern here. I don't know, but otherwise, I really like the stuff that Aniplex had for Fate Grand Order. I like their photo booth. I really like their panels. I really miss the Kigurumi, the mascot characters of like a Mash, Gudako, Saber, just kind of running around. Like I wanted to get selfies with them, like as a Maid Saber. Again, just kind of like just going through like my 3 years of costuming from Fate in a row. Last year I was Nero in an alternate outfit. The previous year I was Nero in the idol outfit. And maybe next year I'll probably just see if I can repair my Saber Chinese dress outfit just so I can just change things up a bit. Again, I always like what Anime Expo does with their mascots, but if I have one piece of constructive feedback, and this is stuff leading up to the convention, and I honestly think if you run a con, you need to put this in your convention policy. You need to put this on your main websites. You need to put this on your socials. Anime conventions, including Anime Expo, need to take a stand against AI art. Anime conventions celebrate animation made by humans, and we need to just kind of just start putting in our descriptions. We need to start making a policy and just start making a stand against AI art. No AI art in the dealer's hall, no AI art in Artist Alley, no AI art in publications, promotion, no AI art done by guests of honor or like special guests, because I don't know if this has been verified, but a lot of social media folks saying they found like AI art in the Artist Alley. This is hearsay unless I actually see photos of what had happened. However, there is tangible evidence that Anime Expo is guilty about on using AI art when they were using the voice acting imagery for AI art. And you could have hired someone from Artist Alley. You could have hired Peach Pit. You guys were working with Peach Pit to do designs for the Anime Expo mascots to have done that piece of artwork. Like, it just shows like Anime Expo, you have the resources to actually hire artists to do your promotion work. Why did you have to resort using AI art? And conventions, including Anime Expo, need to start making a stand against AI. And the first thing you can do is put that stance on your main website. Again, no AI art. Also, as panelists, there's a lot of us who have started using having an introduction slide. It's like this panel was made without the use of AI. Because if you look up on Blue Sky, there's a lot of drama with Worldcon right now, being guilty and admitting so of using AI to select their panelist. I was selected as a panelist at Worldcon, but when I found out that it was the same AI software that was being used to steal off of authors for the sake of transparency and for the sake of ethics, I just could not do Worldcon, and I don't think I would be supporting any future Worldcons from this point forward, because they did not give an apology or anything when a lot of authors have pushed back against their use of AI. And I don't think I'll be supporting Worldcon in the future because of that, because they have not apologized or tried to make things right. But this episode of Convention Tea is all about Anime Expo. I had a great time. I'm glad my friends had a great time. I mean, yeah, Anime Expo is suffering. Not gonna lie, you kind of had to suffer for your fandom, but you know what? In a weird way, it's kind of worth it. It's just a treat seeing like a lot of these guests who don't really come out here too often. But if you don't like crowds, if you're not a fan of crowds, I don't recommend it because it gets pretty crowded. Again, and of course, Um, excuse me, my voice is about to die because I've been talking for like almost 2 hours straight. Anyway, I think this is a good point to end Anime Expo. I had a great time with a legacy of ride or die convention friends, Geki and Sora. You guys are just the best. I had a great time at Anime Expo. Um, Definitely would do it again, but it's not the end of the world if I miss out on Anime Expo. And with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, support Nico's recovery effort. Description, link in description. Support my book, link in description. If you like what we do, considering being a channel subscriber, considering also donating to our Ko-Fi as well. And we're going to provide a lot of these convention reports as reports, and we're going to start talking about conventions as long as we can. Thank you so much for tuning in, and this has been another edition of Convention Tea, and we will see you at the con. Yep, that's Nico in his recovery era, and that was him the morning after Anime Expo as he came to greet me.